Hello everybody. How you all doing? Welcome to the live stream. I have Niraj and Saha here with me, also known as College Circle Kalta. Welcome. Please subscribe, join the channel, follow Rebecca on Instagram and Twitter. Also follow College Circle Kalta once you're at it. Hit the thumbs up. It recommends the channel to more people. Thank you. Thank you, Shayna, for always making that message for me. How you all doing? How you feeling? Today we're gonna talk about what is happening in Bangladesh. You're from India, right? You live in India, but
Yeah.
am I wrong to understand that it's the same Bengali Hindus, or it's like the same, or
Yeah.
what is the difference between uh, West Bangalore, Bengal, sorry, and
Uh,
Bangladesh?
well, first of all, Rebecca, thank you for having me back again. So, there is basically no difference between the Bengali Hindus here and Bengali Hindus in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a fake, made up country. It's a temporary piece of land. It has some excuse and some made up concepts that it conjured out of the blue, out of thin air in 1971 and in 1947, and then now in 2024. It's its third independence in 75 years, and it's going to have more independence days in the future generations as well until it joins back with India. India will someday, the Indian motherland will have back what's rightfully hers. So since it's a made-up country, it's running out of excuses to call itself a country essentially. And the Bengali Hindus there only have a little bit of a different dialect. That's all. It's the same language we speak, and the script and stuff. Everything is same. The culture is basically same. The religion is same. Everything. And the problems they face there is also the problems we face here. It's also the problems you all face in Israel. And the only difference between us and them, I think, is which is the difference between Jews in Israel versus Hindus in India as well, is that you Jews in Israel and the Bangladeshi Hindus in Bangladesh are so insignificant, sort of a numerically insignificant population,
Mm.
surrounded by people who want to harm them on all sides, that they are pretty well organized and militant, as well as culturally connected with their roots. That is the one thing missing in the Bengali Hindus of India. That is not the case with the Bengali Hindus there. That's the only difference.
Oh, okay. So they are prepared, you're saying. They are.
Prepared only as much as they can, basically, but they know that there is a threat and that we must be prepared. But in the end, they are outnumbered because the population is going down drastically. There's a very famous, very legit professor in Dhaka University, Dr. Abdul Barkat. He has predicted that by 2047 there won't be a single Hindu left in the country. On an average, every day, 632 non-Muslims leave the country. It's all his research. So that is the hilarious part, that when in 2047 Bangladesh rids itself of all Hindus, that's when the atheist free thinker type of people in Bangladesh who created this mass movement against the current government, they will realize then that no one's going to come to save them as well, because the main problem with these atheist types, let's call them muktamana, okay, because that's the word they use for themselves as well. Mukto means free and mon means a mind, so a free spirited free thinker sort of a person. So these useful idiot muktamanas, they are the ones who believe that Hindu nationalism, fascism is going on in India. They are the ones who
Mm.
believe that evil Zionism is destroying the Middle East. Now, what they don't realize is that they get these news items and articles from left wing sources, most mainstream left wing sources, who are not going to come to save them when Hindus cease to exist in Bangladesh as well. They are going to take the side of the people who harm those muktamanas as well. So it's high time that they learn their lessons. They have not started learning their lessons as of yet, but let's see.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. So, okay, so I have many questions for you. Okay. One of them is for other than history and things like that, but I also want to hear what is the situation right now, not what caused the situation, but what is the situation for Bengali Hindus. Because when I made my video, I don't know if you watched it. When I made the video, right, I was like, my thing was like, listen, I'm not an expert. I don't know the whole history, but the let's say the spiritual sentiment and the
Mm,
ideology. I know the ideologies, right? And I
mm,
said like, this is why I 100% believe uh, the claims that the Bengali Hindus are in danger. And I even got
mm,
comments saying, "Oh, you're great, you're awesome, but I want you to know that they are not in danger." And in my mind, I was like, listen, I got comments saying, I'm from Bangladesh and I can assure you that the Hindus here are safe. And all I can think, and I told it to my parents, is like, if I, how easy is it to like to tell me whatever they want to say because I'm not from there, and it's
mm.
like, so if they say it the way and they are saying, listen, they write it super politely and super nicely, like, oh, we appreciate it, like, wow, amazing, but just so you
Mm.
know, like, they are safe, we're taking care of them, don't worry
Yeah.
about them. And then all I could think is like, I know I live in the Middle East, right? Like, I know how they work, I know how they operate. But I even told my parents I now kind of more understand what it feels like to be a Westerner, right? Like, because it's so confusing. And it's like, I was confused for 1 second, and then I was like, wait, you know what? I just if it's not true right now in this second, it's gonna be true tomorrow. I know this type, like, I know I know for sure that this is the truth, whether it's a little bit muted right now or not, like what's the volume of it, but this is the general truth. That's something I can say confidently. I believe it's like sometimes it's milder, sometimes it's crazier. That's it. Like, because I know the ideological spiritual guidance of
Mm.
these people.
Yeah.
But I thought, like, for a Westerner, it's kind of hard to navigate what's happening, is like who to
Yeah.
believe. So can you
Mm,
please just tell us
mm.
how do you perceive it? What do you hear? Do you have anyone you're in contact with
Yeah.
inside and things like that?
First of all, that the response you got in your comment section is a trope that's being peddled. It's a line that they have mugged up, and every non-resident Bangladeshi is actually going around spewing this. Okay, I bet you, I bet you $50 at least that the person who wrote that comment does not live in Bangladesh. He
Mm-hmm.
probably lives in Australia or UK at best. And secondly, this I am from Bangladesh and therefore I know better than you. That is actually a fallacy. I call this the four Muslim friends fallacy, because whenever you meet
Oh no.
atheist, leftist minded people in India as well, uh, anytime you try to have a conversation with them or a debate with them about whether Hindus are at threat or not, or you discuss the Israel Palestine issue with them, or you discuss Pakistan with them, or you discuss Bangladesh with them, for all of these separate incidents, they will give separate economic or political reasonings to explain why the Muslim in all of these countries is not at fault.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that will be that they have four Muslim friends who invite them on Eid or who invite them on iftar party, and that A.R. Rahman is a great composer, Habib is such a disciplined, well-behaved fighter, and therefore they know all about Islam and they know all about the history of Islam, and therefore they know all about the history of invasions in India because they have four Muslim friends. That's not how it works. So it does not matter if you have four Muslim friends or not. It does not matter if you live in Bangladesh or not. If they are taking so much, they are if they are taking care of Hindus to such a great extent, why is the population of Hindus in Bangladesh going on decreasing and going on decreasing? Why are 632 non-Muslims leaving Bangladesh every day? Just explain to me that much. Because each and every of these people, because not all of them actually hate Hindus, they might actually have Hindu friends when they are in USA and Australia. But these are the same people. They are the Muktamana people, the free thinkers, who will go on saying that Hindu fascism is going on in India. Whereas in that Hindu fascist country, Muslim population is increasing, Hindu population is decreasing. The Muslim Prime Minister of Bangladesh seeks refuge in India. When Bangladeshi Muslim freethinkers are actually kicked out or they run away from the country, they come to this Hindu fascist country only to live. So, what are they protecting, and what kind of Hindu fascism is really going on in India? So, it's best to ignore them. And as for what a Westerner can do, it's first of all diagnose which are the leftist mainstream news media channels and ignore them completely, or just understand that whatever they are saying, it's the opposite what's going on. And in fact, today the Communist Party of India, the last people you would expect these things from, even they actually mentioned the word Hindus and condemned Bangladesh for doing these things against Hindus. Even the leftists are now saying this in India. So the situation currently in Bangladesh right now is that Muslims who were close to the prime minister who just got exiled, Sheikh Hasina, they are getting lynched left and right. And the Hindus who are always known to be supporters of that party, they are also therefore getting harmed. They are the soft targets. No matter what the upheaval, no matter what gigantic tectonic shift in the society, no matter what political change, first and foremost, Hindus get killed or lynched or their land gets grabbed and there are gang rapes and stuff. So now they have a different excuse that these were the supporters of the previous regime. So we are actually, it's an outburst of our fight against a dictatorship. That's why we are doing these things.
Right. It's if it which to me is like, why is anyone even buying that? Like there is an excuse for this kind of behavior.
Right. Um,
But
and actually, yeah, yeah, go on.
yeah, I just want to like say, I want to ask like what exactly is happening, but as I also want to say that the one thing that I did is like that I opened up the map of Bangladesh, and it's a huge country, like not necessarily, but like so many residents. And like I thought, like, you're living in Bangladesh and you're saying that your specific, maybe you are speaking the truth, but your specific Hindu neighbors are safe. Does it mean that does it mean that is maybe you just like, lucky to live in the 10%? Like, if we're being very like generous about it, but in reality, I think they straight apply. But can you
Yeah.
please explain like what kind of reports, what is actually happening, and how much do you think is it like of course, so you say they are targeting also Muslims that were supporting the government, but how much is there a difference between the type of targeting they're doing?
Hmm. And actually, by the way, this my good neighbor is actually also a classic trope and fallacy when discussing India and Bangladesh relations, okay? Because I myself come from a family of Hindus who were kicked out of Bangladesh during India's partition.
Mm,
I'm the grandson of such people. So even us, most Bengali Hindus who came here became communist for a variety of reasons. Even I was born and raised in a communist family.
right.
So, what we have been continuously told is that there was one good Muslim neighbor who actually protected us or helped us escape. But the bigger question that gets now asked only now, these days, is that why did you have to escape? Who were you running from? What was the religion of that person? So, anyway, that whether the neighbor was in fact good or not is actually an absolutely irrelevant question.
Right.
So now the things that are happening is a lot of lynchings and the pretty creepy and weird things that have happened is that the Muktamana student activists who started this movement against a reservation of sorts, reservation and quotas, sort of an affirmative action for 50% reservations, 30% of which will be not 30% of that 50%, 30% of all the total reservations of all the population will be reserved for descendants of the people who fought for Bangladesh's liberation in 1971. Now, that student movement pretty quickly got hijacked by a party's student wing called Jamaat-e Islami. Now, Jamaat is basically the Taliban or ISIS version of things in Bangladesh, okay?
Oh,
And and every journalist in the know of these things is saying that CIA has been also involved because they want a place called St. Martin's around Bangladesh, and they want to carve out a separate Christian nation, taking some portions of India, some portions of Bangladesh, and some portions of Myanmar. So when these Jamaat Islami student wing and the Muktamana people carry on this student movement, no one had dreamt of this day that after Sheikh Hasina, the prime minister, is ousted from the government and she has to run away, her underwear would be on display. People went to her mansion and stole everything she had. They stole the things in her bathroom, in her toilet. They stole all her saris, which is the dress that Indian women wear. And Bangladesh, since it's basically an Indian state masquerading as a country, we'll just call it an Indian cloth. So they stole Sheikh Hasina's saris, they stole Sheikh Hasina's underwear, and displayed to the world, calling it Apar Bra. Appa is what they call an elder sister, and so and after that, the real insanity begins. But the lynchings begin. But hilariously enough, all those Muktamana activists, student activists, who actually don't really hate Hindus, they just think Hindu fascism is going on in India. All those people also went to the mansion as well. But right after they come out of the mansion and then they see that, okay, people are running around with the former prime minister's underwear, then they start saying, you see, we never wanted this. And this we never wanted this is exactly what happened in Iran as well. The communists and the Islamists collaborated, threw over the dictator, and then the communists get killed, and some of them start saying, we did not want this. So now that they did not want this, we are seeing footages of countless Bangladeshi Hindus getting, well, not getting raped, luckily, but we have seen footages of people getting, a girl getting taken away as well, when 4 or 5 people are dragging her to a car and taking her away. And the things that have bothered me most is that the dialect that they speak the language in, Bangla, that exact dialect I have heard all my life growing up in my family. That's not the way Bengali is spoken in this side of the country, okay? In West Bengal, in India, Bengali is not spoken exactly in the way that it is spoken in Bangladesh. But since I have heard those dialects, and I exactly know how such a person who speaks in that dialect sounds when they are extremely sad or angry or frustrated, hearing those people say those things, that my cows have been stolen, my son has been taken away, my husband has been killed, my daughter has been taken away, my daughter has been raped, they are breaking our temples, hearing all those things in that exact same dialect, that really hit me hard. And I think for the first time I realized exactly how Bangal I am. And Bangal are called people who are descendants or people who came from Bangladesh during 1947 partition, and people who, the Bengali Hindus who were here beforehand only, from before 1947 in India, they are called Ghotis. So I am a Bangal, and I think after seeing these footages, I realized exactly what it means to be a Bangal.
It's like I have a question. By the way, I changed the settings a little bit because I'm trying to preserve as much battery as I can, as I still have this issue. I want to ask. So there was at least some rumor, or at least some reports in Israel, that a lot of the way that the things are being conducted right now in Bangladesh is inspired by Hamas. So there's a lot of cameras, trying to do the same thing, like the Hamas people went inside of Israel and they streamed everything. Is that really something that, and we hear, like, is this really a direct inspiration from Hamas? It's like, okay, we're gonna copy that behavior and you get streams of atrocities
Yeah,
happening?
it's actually true. They were the ones, actually the people who did those atrocities. They were the ones who filmed this, filmed all these things. That is the insane part. And an audience member was telling me in my live streams that, well, in a way, it's actually better that it happened in Bangladesh and not here, because here, the number of left-minded Bengali Hindus is actually way more. So no one would even film it here. We actually got to see it firsthand because it happened there. Some Bangladeshi Hindus were filming it if they got the chance from far away, or it was the perpetrators themselves filming all those things because they saw that it's a great way to gather likes and stuff on Facebook as well, and maybe they will sell all these footages to Al Jazeera and get paid.
Or, why in Al Jazeera you're being very, it's not Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is kind of more being more decent than CNN and BBC lately. So,
Yeah.
you know that our the photographer that filmed the Shani Look got the first place for photography prize in like there's this famous photography competition. He got first place. The person participated in killing and lynching Jews on the 7th of October got a reward, a world, like, by the, like,
Well,
at this
actually,
point, Israel was so, like, Israelis were like, you know what, like, that is,
there's more stuff waiting for you guys. There are 13 Palestinians who have gotten the nomination for this year's Nobel Peace Prize.
oh, really? I didn't notice.
They
By
have
the way,
spread a
what
lot
do
of.
you think about the temporary Nobel Prize? Like, when I saw that he has a Nobel Prize, I was like, I have to ask you because I know Yasser Arafat. I know other people who got a
Yeah,
Nobel Peace Prize, and like, uh, maybe what was her name? The girl from Afghanistan or
Malala.
Malala. Maybe she was fine, but I can
Hmm.
tell you that definitely Obama. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Should not have gotten it. Yasser
yeah,
Arafat is like
yeah,
they're all terrorists themselves.
yeah.
So I wanna.
The
So who
Nobel
is
Peace
he?
Prize is an absolute political tool for the US deep state, or let's just be clear, just CIA maybe, because whenever you get these absolutely unquantifiable things and you give people awards for these things, like this year, breakdancing got into Olympics, and in the next Olympics, they are saying that they are not going to have boxing, but they are going to have dancing, which is unquantifiable,
Yeah,
which
how
is
do
just
you?
people judging. Well, this person dances
The
better. This
I
person dances
actually
better.
wanted to make a stream on the Olympics separately because it was such an awful like joke. Like to me, it's like, okay, you're not gonna let Russia into the Olympics, and but you're gonna let Palestine in, and Afghanistan in, and Syria in, and Sudan in.
Yeah,
Like at least be consistent. It's like
yeah. And what are they going to do without Russia? Who's going to wrestle USA
it's no,
without
it's a
Russia?
joke.
Yeah,
It's a joke. Like it's a real joke. It's like
yeah,
yes, Russia are awful, but I'm sorry, it's not that it's just they're just being. It's I think I said it before. It's just that the Russian person like character like personality and the American is exact opposite. So I think this is
mhm,
why they cannot talk
yeah,
directly as they should.
yeah.
But
Mm,
seriously, like it's not that no, I think Russia is awful, but I know the
mm,
US isn't amazing either. I think
yeah.
Russia is worse because of technical problems that
Mhm,
Russia has, but
mhm.
whatever.
Uh, Although you are probably safer today in most Russian cities than you are in Chicago, the streets of LA and stuff, and San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe. Uh,
So
s-
the
mhm.
Nobel Peace Prize, yeah. So when Obama got it, we realized that we started to realize that it's an absolute joke of an award. It's basically
Yeah,
the deep state either awarding you for something you have already done, or it's a payment, an advance payment for you that they will for which they will make you do something in the future. So now they have come back and asking for receipts from Mohammad Yunus, who's now the prime minister of this fake country, and and incidentally, he was actually some sort of an economist. He has been great friends with our developmental economists, both of whom hail from my state, which is economically one of the most backward states in the country.
mm-hmm.
Our growth rates are one of the slowest in terms of new businesses coming and joining the business environment, ease of doing business. In all of those metrics, my state's ranks almost lowest. Okay, but our state has two Nobel laureates in economics, and those two people are in the realm of developmental economics, which is a way of saying socialism, but I don't want to get blamed for Stalin's misdoings. So these two people, those socialist Nobel laureates, are friends with this Muhammad Yunus as well, because they follow the same kind of economics, a microcredit plan and stuff, with which he made a company called Grameen Phone, Village Phone and Grameen Bank and stuff, with which he found some success. And but for that great action of economics, he gets a prize for spreading peace in Bangladesh, which Bangladesh never has had. Okay, Bangladesh has had countless genocides, significantly. I'm not going to count the 1946 genocides because this fake country was not officially born in 1946. It was still in British India. So at least even 47 onwards, 47, 71, 2001 was probably the most significant amounts of genocides done against Hindus, and then now in 2024. So there goes a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, no, I mean they gave it to Yasser Arafat. I don't know how. But you know,
Right.
it's funny because I feel like when it comes to we get so much attention, but
Mm.
it's relatively speaking, those are small numbers, right? Even
Mm.
like the whole Israeli population is less than the all of the Bengali Hindu population.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, but I guess it's more like the the perceived achievement, right? That would
Mm.
the so what do you think, how should in the situation be dealt with in an ideal world? Like let's say like people would do and countries would want to do the right thing.
We need to invade Bangladesh as soon as possible, and treat that as a sort of an union territory. And there's direct armies rule, Indian armies rule, and until let's say for at least one generation, for 20 25 years, the Indian army rules there, and keeps everyone in line, makes sure everyone behaves in an orderly fashion. No one ends
Mhm.
up killing people for their religion and stuff, and then we'll see what happens from then onwards. That's in the ideal world. In the real world, I think even in today's, let's say, practical, feasible, doable, possible scenarios, there's something called chicken's neck. Okay, chicken's neck corridor, which is the top portion of my state, West Bengal, which borders Bangladesh. I think that at least that needs to be thickened because it actually looks like a chicken's head. Okay, if you Google the map of West Bengal, on the right side of our state is Bangladesh. So the place that looks like a chicken's neck, that neck needs to be broadened, and some portions of Bangladesh at least needs to be annexed for India's safety. At least that much needs to be done.
So what do you mean by India's safety? How is the situation in Bangladesh affecting India?
Uh, Insane amounts of infiltration from Bangladesh goes on anyway. It has decreased a little only in the last few years, and that insane amounts of infiltration happens because of the way the geography is of those borders. There are absolutely ambiguous jungles, forests, rivers, ponds, where people have no idea, or if they don't want to know, they don't want to have an idea where Bangladesh starts and where India ends and stuff. So people come in all the time, and I've been told that it's not really possible to be stopped unless, like, on every treetop there's an Indian army man with a sniper, and then they go on shooting
What do
everyone
they
who tries.
do? Those
They
who
accost as much as they can,
they
and
what?
then they arrest as much as they can.
No,
They
I mean
send
the
some.
people who infiltrate.
Yeah, they infiltrate. See, there is in this context there is something called a push factor and a pull factor, as has been a term coined by some judges as well in India. There are factors there like poverty for Muslims, and for Bangladeshi Hindus, it's poverty plus religious persecution, which makes
Mhm.
them want to come to India. Even for the poor Muslims, okay, they feel the need to come to this Hindu fascist country. And there's a pull factor here as well. Some politicians on this side of the border do think of them as a vote bank. So the moment they come in, they are somehow or the other either allowed to stay here, live here, intermingle among the masses, and not give away the fact that they are actually legal Bangladeshis. And they are, I've heard that they are even handed out legal documents and stuff, and then they go on living here forever and after. And that is why that CAA and NRC, those controversial bills that were brought out by this current government of India, which tried to find out who are the illegal Bangladeshis. We'll try to send them back, and we will give a home to only the non-Muslims of Bangladesh and non-Muslims of Pakistan, because they are the ones who are persecuted in those countries because of their religion. At least we'll give a home to them, not to the others. So that's how the infiltration happens, and that's why the infiltration happens. And if if those infiltrations are even stopped, the problem is most Bangladeshis are today highly radicalized Islamists. All the liberalism of
Do you
Bangladesh
know
that you saw.
percentages? Like how much of
No,
Bangladesh is ready? Nothing.
no. See, if a truly fair and free and fair election is held in Bangladesh, I guarantee you, in some months, if it is held in some months, in let's say in the next 5 6 months or 1 year, it's the Jamaat Islami party who will win the election, which is the Taliban or ISIS version of Bangladeshis. And that will tell you that what kind of a country it is. And there are other ways to diagnose this and find out about this problem as well. See, in 1971, when they created this fake country for the second time, their basis for creating that country that second time was just the Bengali language, which is absolutely baseless, because the way they speak Bengali, the way the Muslim Bangladeshis speak Bengali, is almost not Bengali at all. It's almost Arabic. Okay, they
They do
have
it
replaced.
everywhere. Yeah, no Persian. The Persian that people speak now is like a shadow of what Persian used to be.
I see.
Because it's not talked about a lot because people don't want to, like, there are Muslims that are not Arab, but actually Islam is a supremacist kind of ideology. They push Arabic wherever they go. So it's very interesting to hear that even in a place like Bangladesh, they also had managed to change the language to an extent
Yeah,
that
absolutely. And so, if at all the entire country stood up for the right to speak Bengali, and therefore wanted a different country and separated themselves from Pakistan, why would within a few years their Bengali language itself change? Who changed it? How can a language change without the mass support of an entire people? So it was a complete lie to begin with. And this shows that their mind is essentially Islamist. And all the small amounts of liberalism from that you see from people who claim to not hate Hindus, that's mainly happening in the capital Dhaka, or in and around the Dhaka University campus, where communism, liberalism, leftist politics, they thrive a little. It's just those people.
it's who pushes though, like they are not gonna learn Arabic from nothing, right? It's not like from thin
Yeah,
air, so somebody has to.
right.
Who does that?
Exactly.
Like, where's the Arabic coming from?
First of all, the madrasas, which is the Islamic seminaries, and then the, the prime minister who just got kicked away. She is not really a pro-Hindu politician by any means. Her
No,
party is not pro.
she's an Arab, Iraqi Arab, descendant of Iraqi
Right.
Arabs, I've heard.
Yeah. So and her party is not pro-Hindu by any means, and she even can't be pro-Hindu because the country is Islamofascist already, and a lot of anti-Hindu violences have happened even under her regime, done by her party men only. But you see, since uh, she had to monkey balance between trying to come across as a pro Hindu person, so that whatever those Bengali Hindu votes, I keep on getting them, and my India friendly face keeps on being maintained. But at the same time, she had to have a good relationship with the Islamofascists as well. So there has been both a state sanction of the Islamization or the Arabization of the Bengali language, and the madrasas have done their job as well.
Fascinating. What else? Right. So you're saying she's. So what is she? So why would the Americans want to bring her down then, if she's not really pro-Hindu?
Uh, Americans are now fed up with Pakistan, first and foremost. All their investment for all these years has gone down the drain. That's why they need a different country to offset India's rise and counter China to some extent,
Mm.
because they were the ones who fed the Chinese monster. They thought economics and business will solve all their problems and they'll live happily ever after. Now China is trying to play their shenanigans in USA, in US politics, in American academia as well. So they don't want, first of all, China to become any more of a threat. They don't want India to become the next China. So how to keep both these two countries at check? Have a country which is absolutely antagonistic towards both these countries, and use that country as a base to create people and ideologies who will infiltrate India and, as much as possible, China. They won't possibly be able to do much in China, but in India, since we do have a democracy, infiltrate this country, infiltrate ideas, spaces in India, and create a weak government in India who will kowtow with USA's every decision. That is the next dream they have for Bangladesh.
It's such a terrible I
Yeah, and that is what.
I don't doubt it. Like this is exactly how
Yeah,
they operate. But
yeah,
Shirley
and that is what
Lamona.
pisses me off
Oh,
about these Muktamana free thinkers in Bangladesh is that if at all you are such a free thinker, your free thinking should not be limited to just not hating Hindus. Your free thinking should not stop at just being an atheist. Your free thinking should be comprising of critical thinking, where you understand what's your place in society, what's your country's place in geopolitics. Your country is a fake country made up just 75 years ago, and it already has its third Independence Day. What kind of a country is that? And what you have to realize if you are a free thinker in Bangladesh is that your country is filled with Islamofascists, and there can be no democracy in an Islamofascist country. Whether it runs like Afghanistan or Taliban, or whether it runs like UAE and the progress that Saudi Arabia is heading towards, it can't have democracy at any cost. But
right.
these Muktamana idiots went on criticizing this government for being a dictator, whereas they should have just used their critical thinking faculties, if they have any, and supported this government, this prime minister, to just run the country to the best of her abilities, and not play act and do a cosplay of being an European democracy in Bangladesh.
I wanna. Okay, so here's a question from our audience, Charlie Lemoyne. Thank you for your support. Would it be fair to describe the recent events as popular revolt, of course, but mixed with a strange agenda, radical Islamist, to topple a secular liberal regime?
It was not a secular liberal regime; it was the least Hindu regime, um, and it was a look. How do you define popular rebellion or revolution? Okay, because if you sit at home and you have moral support, let's say you retweet all the posts supporting the revolutionaries on the streets, or you think in your conversations in your family, and you when you talk with your family members and you say that yes, those guys are right, I don't think you are relevant here, because you are not the revolutionary. The people who are actually the revolutionaries in the streets, some of them are those Muktamana free thinkers. Most of them are those Jamaat Islami party's student wing kids, okay, who are funded by USA and whose ideology is similar to ISIS and Afghanistan and Taliban. And interestingly, a lot of policemen got attacked and killed even before the prime minister left the country. Okay, even when the student revolution was going on, policemen were getting killed. How can a student organization go and kill a policeman? A policeman at the end of the day has a gun, at least for self-defense. So it was absolutely this. This is not a student or movement or revolution. This was an American movement. America just funded the right people at the right time. That's all. And which is interesting, because China is going to be very, very angry with this, because China had invested in Bangladesh for decades now. China was trying to create its own ally against India. And up until a few years back, we used to see pro-Chinese voices in all of those Jamaat wings who are now going to be friends with USA, who are just goons for hire. And these used to be stooges of China up until like 2 years back. They used to say, "Joy China." Okay, joy means victory to China. Okay, so Bangladeshis who can't speak any language other than Arabic, they can't even speak Bengali probably, who are going around saying victory to China in every post on Facebook and Twitter relating to India and Bangladesh issues because they hate India with all their guts. So what China sees now is that, okay, we invested in these Jamati idiots to create an anti-India country, and at the very last moment, USA swoops in and takes the Jamati for their own, and they create the anti-India country. We are not going to have that. So you are going to see a lot of interesting things, and battleground is what Bangladesh is basically going to turn into for a fight between China and USA. China is not going to let this go.
Right. Oh, okay. So what do you think China will do?
First and foremost, fund Awami League, the current the prime minister who just got kicked out. Her party will be rejuvenated with China's help, and you're
So,
already seeing processions and stuff on the streets from those
so
people.
okay. So from what I figured, so the police is cooperating with her while the army had defected.
Uh, Actually, police was cooperating, and the army at the very last moment, I guess, when they got a call from the U.S. State Department or CIA, that's when they flipped. Otherwise, they were pretty happy with Sheikh Hasina. I think the current head of Bangladesh Army is a relative of Sheikh Hasina, which is why actually Sheikh Hasina was able to get out of the country alive. Otherwise, along with her underwear, she would be on display because there were many Awami League policemen also paraded naked and stuff after being beaten to death. See, it's absolutely the same kinds of coup and post-coup violence and violent transfers of power that we have seen in Africa for all these years. It's actually blatant racism to not see Bangladesh and Pakistan in the same light as we see Africa. I'll tell you what the reason is. The legitimacy of Pakistan and Bangladesh, the reason that you don't think Bangladesh is as bad as Africa, or you don't think Pakistan is as bad as Africa, is because of their proximity to India. Okay, it's the Indian intellectuals on the West Bengal side who validate and legitimize those Muktomanas in Bangladesh, and it's Bollywood, which is based in Mumbai, who have a culture, let's not call it, we will use the term Islamicate. It's a term coined by historian Marshall Hodgson, okay, who wrote a monumental 3-volume history of Islam. Islamicate means basically a sort of an Islamic culture, but where in fact non-Muslims take part and celebrate that Islam sort of a culture. Okay, like having the biryani, it's known as a Muslim food only. Having biryani, wearing Muslim clothes, all day reminiscing about Urdu shairi, Urdu poetry, or Arabic poetry, how great Mughal kings were, what great architecture they brought here, and so on and so forth, what great music Muslim countries have, that kind of thing. So that's the Islamicate culture that Bollywood essentially celebrates. And they had to celebrate it because 1971 onwards, Saudi Arabia and USA started sending their petrodollar to Pakistan, to ISI, and they funneled all that money into Bollywood to promote this Islamicate culture. And that Islamicatism validates Pakistan's artists and musicians and stuff. Okay, so but I bet you there will be great artists and singers in Africa as well. And if you have seen Lion King, you know what a great thing African choirs are. But when we think of Africa, we only think of those failed states and coups and this dictator dragging through the streets, that dictator, then the victorious dictator gets dragged through the streets again 20 years later. But that's exactly what happens in Pakistan and Bangladesh as well.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these countries are failed states.
Yeah. Well, I want to read some comments. Abhisham
Mm.
is saying Bangladesh is basically the part of Bengal which was taken away from us by the British and the Muslim elites in 1947. My family is from
Mm.
there originally. Um,
Mm.
in a census of United Bengal in 1940s, 51% were Muslim and 44% were Hindus, and 5% were Christians and Buddhists. But after the partition, only 19% came to India. as and the tragedy is Bengali Hindu elites, aka Bohodorologs,
Bhadralok.
have never spoken about the persecution of their people. They justify jihad
Right.
all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and there is another, I think, okay, so somebody is asking, I read that Jasper, think, I read that child marriage was made illegal in the US back around 2010. I doubt it was a moral change of heart change. What happened? Probably it became a sensation in the media outlets in the West, and therefore, in order to keep their money flowing, they had to add that law.
Exactly.
It's pretty
Yeah.
simple. Okay. Um, right. So it's what's happening is so yours the so this is what happening in Bangladesh and Pakistan. Those are just forces to bring everything, make India go under control. Okay. So here's what I wanted to ask you now that where would you say can you get real information, like real opinions, real like data from what's happening in Bangladesh? Uh, are there any sources that you would say, hey, is there a way for the average person outside of Bangladesh to know? Actually, I don't know if
Mm.
Bangladeshi know what's happening, but like if there is any sources that you say, hey, that's actually quite
Mm.
accurate.
Actually, one legit way to find out about anything in the world today is that believe the exact opposite of what any left-wing mainstream media tell you. By just following that rule, you will get to most real facts anyway. Other than that, there's a person called Deep Haldar, D for Denmark, double E, P for Pompey, and Haldar, Halder. He has been on my podcast as well, and he is sort of the go-to Bangladesh expert in India, a leading journalist,
Mm-hmm.
and has written two books on about the plight of Bangladeshi Hindus as well. And he writes frequently, goes on podcasts for the newspaper house called The Print in India. He is probably the most legit source in India you can find about to find out about Bangladesh.
Have you seen anything from Western sources that you think were
Well, New York Times ended up saying that some bad things are happening against Hindus. And the very next day, I think it was New York Times only or Washington Post or BBC. No, first BBC said that, yeah, actually bad things are happening against Hindus. But the game that New York Times played 2 days later was that they said that Hindus are getting attacked in Bangladesh as a revenge, meaning
right? I
that they
saw that.
insinuated that as if Hindus all have also done some bad things to the Muslims. Yeah, the 8% Hindus have done something bad to the 90% Muslims. Yeah. That was the accusation.
So okay, but how do you get your information? How do you know what you know?
Yeah, mostly from the print, and you see, the one thing that I have the benefit of is proximity to these kinds of people. I know those kinds of Muslims who claim to be Muktamana, who are in fact Muktamana. I have family members who have faced these things in the past. I follow Deep Haldar and stuff. So even if I see a lie, I know very well where is the lie and which is the truth. That's one advantage I have, because like just 4 days back, I had to unfriend an old friend. He was sort of an elder brother to me. I have known him for 24 years now. He's a Bangladeshi Muslim, the Muktamana types. He lives in Australia, and he sees all my Facebook posts about all the footages I kept posting, all the things we all of us saw on Twitter, and he inboxes with that same exact line that you got. That, no, brother, everything is fine in Bangladesh. We are protecting our minorities. We are protecting Hindus. We
Mm-hmm.
are not like India, where Hindu-Muslim tensions exist. We are protecting them. So I said that I told him those same things, that if you all are protecting and we are not protecting, how is Muslim population increasing in India and Hindu population is decreasing in Bangladesh? Then he says, no, no, thank you for the concern, but things are absolutely under control, and we are feeling absolutely safe, and the Hindus are safe. So I asked him, how are you feeling safe in Bangladesh even though you live in Australia? And how are things in control in Bangladesh if you live in Australia? So then he started taking screenshots of me and stuff. So I had to unfriend him. So I know how the Muktamana mind functions as well. Uh, how much of an useful idiot they are for the Jamaat Islamis. That's what I understand.
Yeah, Bisham is also adding, I knew a born Hindu family who migrated from Bangladesh in 1990s because their 13-year-old elder daughter was impregnated by a Mulvi in the village. They had ultimately submit the child and leave. That's
Mm.
like, so, but submitting, do you mean that they had to give the child to the family of the rapist? This is what do you mean
Yeah,
by submitting? Because from my knowledge, this is, like we are lucky. I don't know if somebody from the West can understand because I'm from the Middle East. I know this operation method. I heard these stories million times.
yeah,
They take away your children and they take away.
yeah.
Um, okay,
And it
so
was a common occurrence whenever those mass gang rapes happened in 1947, 2001, 1971, and it will happen in 2024 as well. They will say that, yeah, some nice looking, dignified looking man from the Islamofascist side will go to the Hindu family and say that, yes, I know our boys did some bad things, but don't abort the child or don't take away the child. Let him be here. We will raise him, and that child will grow up to become another Islamofascist. All they want is population.
that's, I mean, it's insane. Okay. That is such a bad thinking. Like, they don't think long term at all, do they? But okay, like, they're gonna grow and then collapse. Like, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, somebody is mentioning is the story of Dinah, but Levin, we have a story about that in the Bible.
No.
About so the one of the like the daughter of the patriarchs was taken away by Shechem, and
Okay.
then she was raped and held hostage there, and they tried to negotiate and say, hey, we're gonna compensate you and stuff, just give her to us. And it's unclear, but it looks like she was held hostage. Anyway, two of her brothers went, and they just annihilated all of the city. And it's like, nobody's gonna treat our sister like that. Just like, and ever
Mm.
since, like, when the things happened on 7th of October, people were like, no, you guys are wrong. Like, you can rape our daughters, but those are still our daughters. Like, we're not like Muslims instead of like, that's it. We don't like, no, we are gonna like, that's a
Yeah.
that's a completely different mentality. But yeah,
Yeah.
the more like I live through the Middle East, the more I understand like why they made this. Like, because they said nobody's gonna touch the, like, even if you rape them, they're not gonna be yours. It's like nothing you can do
Mm.
is ever
Yeah.
gonna. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, but let's just, some people brought it up. It's like, this is the
Yeah.
reality of living through that, and it's like, and it's so politically incorrect to say it, but no, that's the right thing to do. It's
Right.
like, if it's
And you
like,
see that politically, what is politically incorrect, that has been the biggest problem that you and I face. See, uh, the thing with evil is that evil is always inevitable. There will always be evil in society. Evil is inevitable, evil is obvious, evil is overt, and evil is very simple. Let's say, if it is between just the evil person and the good person, then most problems do not even exist. If you are walking on the streets and someone comes and slaps you, you either defend yourself or you slap them back. The problem arises when the third person, third party, non stakeholder comes and convinces you that that slap was not really a slap, or you deserve to get slapped, or that slap did not really hurt you, didn't it? Or your ancestors did something bad to that person's ancestors, and therefore you deserve to get slapped today. And maybe after some deliberation, it's even proven that your ancestors did not do anything bad to them. And but by then, the entire society is convinced that yes, you deserve to get slapped. So I
mm-hmm.
think the bigger problem is leftist politics and communists. Because if it is just between Islamofascists and non-Muslims, the problems won't exist, because there are actually those Muktamana people who don't hate Hindus. but they are being useful idiots of these people because they are reading leftist sources. So the main problem is being created by leftists, absolutely.
Yeah, it's when you don't, because some people are evil, they are truly evil. But then the what's happening is that it's like I said, like the first, like in Disney, like they stopped having real mean characters, and I said, you know what? That's the thing with Disney, that they had those like the evil queen, which by the way, like in Snow White, for example, it was her real mother that tried to kill her in originally, not her stepmother. It's like people like
Right.
that exist. They are
Yeah.
real. It's not a fake thing. Look in the Muslim world, like how many mothers are willing to kill their daughters for their own
Yeah.
benefit? So many, and
Yeah.
it is reality. And we're like
Mm.
like it's not nice, and then people don't know what is reality anymore, which
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah.
And another thing is, okay, so I want to ask you from
Mm.
your first from your perspective, and then from, let's say you're a person in Texas or something, or New York. Do you think like why does it matter to know what's happening in Bangladesh?
That's my favorite question because it's all going to come for you as well. Be prepared. Fall in line.
I know,
Let
man.
go of your let go of your evangelist dreams of converting all of India. Because the people that you are converting in India, they are poor people. Poor people can't afford to have morals. They are not educated. You are convincing them to become Christian by just giving them a few bucks or giving them a bag of rice. But the moment someone gives them a bigger bag of rice or offers them a little more money, they will flip like this. And right
Mm.
now, evangelists are using them against Hindus. Hindus are the last people standing between Islamofascists and Christians in India. The moment we are done, they are going to come for you, and those people, those converted, newly converted people who are today foot soldiers against Hinduism for evangelicals, they will be the foot soldiers for Islamofascists against Christians, as you are seeing in UK today. As USA probably won't see anytime in the future, because at least most illegal immigrants coming into USA are still Mexican Christians. So there are going to be law and order problems, but it's not going to be a complete evisceration of the culture, if at all there is any American culture left to save. But it's not going to be as bad as UK is going to have. So Christians and white people, Anglo-Saxons all over the world, learn from what's happening in India so that you can save your countries as well. And first focus on saving your countries instead of getting us Hindus salvation.
Actually, I want to ask you about it, but first I want to ask a different question. That is, uh, what do you think the geopolitical effect of it is, of what is happening in Bangladesh?
Well, USA just got stronger. So if you are
Why,
in a
why,
place,
why does it make the United States stronger?
because India just got a threat on their borders and China has a threat on their borders. Therefore, if the weaker USA is geopolitically, it's better for everyone except USA. It might be better for USA as well in some ways, but they can't ever be sure, which is why they have such small terms for their presidents, because they don't want a president to do anything. They are just, the president is just the toy that they will put on display, that yes, see, yeah, you guys have democracy, here is your democracy toy, play with it for 4 years and then there will be a new person. But it's the deep state and CIA who will go on running things. So they have gotten a victory for now, and they have plans to fight in Taiwan as well, fight China. Although their navy ships probably won't reach Taiwan, they will probably have to take India's help. But now that they are trying to do shenanigans in the Saint Martin's Island in around Bangladesh, Myanmar, maybe they have other plans as well. So even if geopolitically it's if at all we can argue that it's not that big of a deal, on the ground level, for people, not for normal people, common white people, common let's say Christian people who are truly liberals these days, who don't really have any dislike for Hindus. At best, they think that yeah, you guys are not getting salvation. I can get you better salvation and stuff. But your culture, your race is going to die pretty soon if you don't learn from our mistakes, or if you don't learn from the stuff that's going on in Bangladesh. So just for saving your race, at least you'll have to learn from this.
And how is it to speak up inside of India about the things that are happening and the threat from Islam?
Uh, Pretty risky. I don't say most things that I want to, especially because of the state I live in, which is pretty Sharia compliant,
Right.
and our state government oftentimes gives exact slogans that are given in Bangladesh as well, even in terms of let's say sort of a political slogan, war cry sort of a thing to charge up your ground level cadres, which is a term called "Khela Hobe," that a game will be played and we'll see what happens in the next elections, which is indirectly a call for violence, basically. That is a very popular slogan in my state, West Bengal. Even that was plagiarized from politicians in Bangladesh. Then there's another phrase called "Dharmo jar jar utsav shobar," which means we might be divided by religions, but religious festivals are for everyone to celebrate, which doesn't really work if it is one or two specific religions involved. But even that was a phrase coined in Bangladesh, which gets used here because our state government has realized, since there are so many illegal Bangladeshis here anyway, why not be relatable to them as well, because they are my vote bank after all. So it's not really safe to speak on everything that I want to. And plus, we have strict blasphemy laws. There are strict laws against offending anybody's religious sentiments and stuff. There are many problems.
Is it
Plus,
for
we
every
are
religion or just one religion?
theoretically, it's for every religion, but it's only one religion who actually pursues it. Actually, two religions who pursues it. One from America's money, evangelical money and stuff, and one with just the uh, sheer force of strength and Qatar money, Pakistan money, Saudi Arabia. They used to do all those things with their money, but they are pretty rich these days anyway. Since see, the funny thing is that our state with capital S, not my state, West Bengal, the Indian state, the central government even incentivizes people to be uh, devout Muslims. There is there are direct economic benefits to being Muslim, whether in the religious sense or in the secular sense, in the development sense as well. But there are no such incentives to being a Hindu in India,
Mm-hmm.
politically or economically. So so stuff like those you can't hurt religious sentiments and stuff, those get used more by them against Hindus than by Hindus against them, because there's just no machinery or manpower or economic resources to fight all the cases that Hindus would like to fight against them. And besides, Hindus actually don't really get offended at everything, which is hilarious that uh, a lot of Hindus these days think that becoming as stupid and idiotic like them would be a way to solve the problem. They think that that other side is actually winning. They think Afghanistan is actually a great country. Maybe I don't know what other logic there is to say that they are winning and we are losing. Yes, they are. We are vulnerable, but you can't cosplay or play act your way to victory in these things. That's I think the main thing that we need to learn from Jewish people. It's not just how Israel runs as a country. What we have to learn from Jewish people is that they never brought themselves down to the level of the idiots that they faced. So we can't pretend that we are in a fancy dress competition where we are as offended as those people. We are not. Maybe one or two people viewing this are, but even if they are offended, what in the hell are they going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. Which means you are not really offended. You would like to see something happen, but you don't really want things to happen. So why not go to a different route and actually use your brains that you do have? Those people don't have their brains, and therefore they have focused all their spirituality, culture, everything on just political imperialism. You have better brains. You succeed in being a doctor, scientist, art and culture, everything. you are liberal, you are tolerant. So fight the game in a different way, which is what I also see that Jews have figured out long before, that conservatism is not enough. You just say that yes, we have a great culture, we need to conserve it. That's not enough. Jews won because of social justice. Entire Zionism movement, according to me, is essentially a social justice movement that see bad things happened, injustice happened against Jewish people, and we're not going to let these things happen anymore. And therefore, Jewish billionaires funded academia for all these years, which was used by white liberals to go on funding woke stuff as well, because the Jewish billionaires were caught napping, and they found out that their funds are being used to equate transgenderism with the plight of Jewish people in 1945. They think that these professors somehow were convinced that see why else is every villain in the world called Hitler? It's because of the funding of Jewish billionaires. But it was the Jewish billionaires funding, that the social justice nature of all these movements and academia, which was used by white liberals to fund today's all anti-Jewish stuff as well. So the social justice is where the real game is. Conservatism won't win you anything, and that's why our conservatism cannot find any similarity with Western conservatism, European conservatism. Our movement is essentially social justice in nature, and that's similar to Zionism.
So you see, actually, I don't know. It's funny. I don't like as a Israeli Zionist, I can say that like the Zionist movement has little to do with actually social justice, to be honest.
Yeah, but what social justice is, we as we understand social justice today versus what Zionism was able to do, those are two different things. Some truths are truths whether we diagnosed it properly or not. The way it functioned, that was social justice, right? The way everyone around the world was taught that Hitler was a bad person who did bad things against Jewish people. Every kid in every school in every country knows it, but nobody knows what happens to Bangladeshi Hindus, because they won the social justice game, which is now being trying to the white liberals are trying to replicate that game for transgenders and trying to say, see, just like Jewish people were oppressed, even in the same way, and transgender people are also oppressed. Therefore, isn't Trump a Hitler? It's the same copybook that they're trying to do with the funding of those same Jewish billionaires, which is why they are now taking away the funding from places like Harvard.
Yeah, but Jews never like the thing is, it's not a very Jewish way necessarily to like the Zionism movement is not even new. It's like it's because it's historically it's our homeland, and the thing is that uh, that actually made it different is the fact that like because of different things, like Jews could communicate around the world and build a plan together.
Right.
uh, but like it's not necessarily that it is 100% just like a social justice.
But how did you
um
convince the non-Jews and non-Israeli people? That was in the social justice way, right?
no,
Because everyone thinks of Jews and thinks, yes, bad things happened to them.
no, it wasn't what convinced them at all, to be honest.
Yes. What do you
uh
think convinced, let's say, me about the plight of Jewish people?
for you, yeah, but not for like not in the governmental, or like the reason like people like governments voted for the Jewish country was not because of the like not because of
Yeah, yeah.
social. It
Yeah,
was
so
not.
this is about, when I say this is a social justice movement, it is addressed to the non-Jewish people, because we have to convince the others as well, people who are not already bought into this idea, which is why social justice, Hindutva as a social justice movement will also work better if we look at it as a social justice movement to convince the leftist Hindus or the atheist Hindus or the non-Hindus around the world as well, because by explaining to them that see bad things are happening to Hindus.
Yes, but no, because I don't think they buy into the that kind of thinking.
They will,
Uh,
as soon as Hindu billionaires throw a bunch of money at academics.
that can might help, but first of all, academia by itself, like the personality types that go to academia, are problematic to begin with. So that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Hmm.
The thing that like with the Jewish and Zionism, uh, it was very like those who think that the only thing that I can say that is like necessarily remotely that way is that they could see that for the Israel is a much better place to live in than the neighboring countries because we have real social justice, like real rights, real. Uh, so that might be it. And you can say the same like with if you want to support Hinduism, you say like Hinduism is pluralistic and like it has all those things that Islam doesn't have and it's
Won't
better.
push the needle.
No. So you're trying to understand like so what can you please like right like if you it feels like it's a question to me. So like what how did Zionism convince how is it so strong, right? Like is that a question? And it's like what could you do the same to make Hinduism or like Hindu Tuva kind of mentality as strong
Yeah,
as
I'm not exactly even asking. I'm observing that. See, the fact that Israel is even a great country, it's the fact that it's a semi-first, it's basically a first world country in the middle of a hellhole. Even those facts were not really known to us. But what we have always known is that Jewish people faced bad things in 1945 and 44.
right? And that was but does it really work? Because this is not exactly the
Yeah,
impression I got. I feel like those who are in the left in India hate Jews in Israel as well. They don't just
that's
hate Hindu.
that's a very new concept because up until let's say even 10-15 years back, even every leftist would be going around saying that yes, Jewish people faced bad stuff, Hitler was so bad. And then if you went to the
And
PhD level, maybe only then you would get into a lot of Palestinian propaganda, and then you would be convinced of the evil nature of Jewish people.
okay, but what about the Hindus like you guys? Like the Muslims did things that are awful to Hindus. So why?
Most people don't even know that Muslims did awful
But
things.
that's an education thing, right?
Right. Hence a social justice thing, which needs to be funded by billionaires, which is
Oh,
put
right.
forward
Like
by academics.
teach I think I would say it's not like that. It's just like teaching, like I we said from the beginning, is like that. Nobody is telling the truth about anything, right? This is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like everything is politically correct, and so people don't really describe the real atrocities that are
Mm.
happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I think what you're describing as a situation is like you're just not being taught your history.
Yeah.
And that's and if Jews are not being taught their history, the situation would be the same, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're not,
Exactly.
if people who don't learn about the things that happen to Jews also uh,
Yeah.
would like think the same. But the thing is that now, uh, the thing is that even after the Holocaust, like a lot of Jews put a lot of money to commemorate the Holocaust because even as the Holocaust was happening, even if you got the first footages, even people that were standing there and looking at the dead bodies, they were like, they knew that they're like they already were like planning how to deny it and to like turn it around and say that they just
Right.
deserve it. Like that was
Right.
so they just put a lot of money to make sure that everybody knows about the Holocaust. The thing is
Hmm.
that even with all this investment that the Jews did, like with all the billions that was invested in it, it doesn't hold long. Like it didn't really hold. It held, like you said, maybe until 15 years ago. But it's like
Hmm.
this, even that, everybody knows what happened to the Jews. But even knowing that, they are justifying it and they're celebrating that it happened and they say like it should happen again. So,
Uh, in India, that happens only inside academia, masters onwards, okay, at least postgraduate onwards. If on the streets of Calcutta today, you catch any, let's say, 23-year-old boy or girl, okay, and who does not follow any politics, who's just going about their life, you ask them about a Jew. First thing they will tell you is that yeah, they face some bad stuff at the hands of Hitler. And you ask them about Hindus, they will say yeah, Hindus are great doctors and engineers in the West, and we are a tolerant society, we are great friends with Muslims. Muslims and us have been friends forever, and it's the British people who caused our partition. That's the And what and how are we learning these things? What incentive does an Indian history book writer have to say that Hindus have forever been friends with Islamic invaders, but Jews faced the brunt of Hitler's insanity?
But we are,
Well,
but the, but the Islamists are trying to do the same. They're saying like, oh yeah, Jews in Islamic
they are
countries
now.
were having great. No, they always did. They always did. They always lied about
They
it.
didn't succeed in the mainstream. In the mainstream, anti-Semitism has been the main
Yeah,
thing to
but
avoid.
everybody talked about anti-Semitism in Europe. Nobody talked about anti-Semitism in the Muslim world.
Yeah,
Even that wasn't known.
yeah. Uh, are we really going to be bothered about the education system of the Muslim world? Isn't that basically irrelevant? Who knows what they even study?
No, I'm saying the West didn't know about the that Islam, the anti-Semitism of Islam. Like
Right,
even
right.
with
Yeah,
everything
they
that
don't
they
even
were
know.
taught, they don't know.
Yeah,
So it's the same.
yeah.
But you are facing the same problem. Your
Mm.
problem is that it's because you said it yourself, right? You have no problem saying that the Brits did some things that were wrong, and everybody knows that. But it's
Yeah.
really, really hard to explain that the Muslims did things
Mm.
that were really, really bad. And the Jews
Right.
have still the same problem. You
Mm.
everything you talk about, yes, but we are both. You say the Holocaust, like that was happening, it's from the Europeans, and
Yeah.
what you can say talk about is what the Brits did to you, but you can barely talk about what the Muslims did, which is
Yeah. And
extremely important for Hindus and for Jews as well,
yeah.
but it's way
And
harder and was always harder.
and in India, you can't say those things. It's because of that third party non stakeholder who is convincing us that you getting slapped is not a slap, or your ancestors did some bad things, therefore you deserve to get slapped. It's the communists in the country who are convincing us of these things.
Yeah. By the way,
But yeah,
that
go
Vic
ahead.
is asking, Ambedkar on partition. Can the guest talk about it? What is Ambedkar?
Yeah, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is considered to be the Lord and Savior of all communists in the country, all leftist
Mm.
people in the country, because he said some bad things about Hinduism in some books. But those same people ignored his book, his 1946 book called Pakistan or Partition of India, where he has absolutely demolished Muslim politics and Muslim religious fascism. Okay, and I think that's a mandatory reading for anyone in the West and even Jewish people, because he was an extremely skilled and qualified lawyer. He passed out from London School of Economics. He is the father of the Indian Constitution, by the way, and although he did not write it himself entirely, but he was one of the key figures when our constitution was being created. And in 1946, he writes the second edition of this book to claim that he has actually been the farthest right wing. He has been further right wing of than all Hindutva activists even in discussing Muslims. He is the one who said that partition is not only necessary because we can't live with these people, we need to kick out each and every Muslim from the country and send them to Pakistan. And we need to bring every non Muslim in those countries to India. It's impossible to live with them. And I'm paraphrasing a quote from him. He said that a Muslim might, a Tartar, a Mongol, an Afghan, all these three kinds of Muslims might try to kill each other. But the one thing that they have common amongst themselves is that they have to kill the Hindu, and they are convinced of it. And
Mm-hmm.
then he questioned the loyalty of Muslims in the Indian army, which was proved to be correct a few days later in the army of the Kashmir Maharaja's army, where Muslim comrades, okay, Muslim compatriots in the army butchered their non-Muslim counterparts in the same regiments, right when Pakistan gave a call for jihad and when the partition was going on. So uh, then he said that if a Muslim country attacks in India, will the Muslims in the Indian army even follow the Indian government's orders? So
Yeah.
uh, so his book Pakistan or Partition of India, I think, is mandatory reading.
I actually had the same conversation recently. Um, with somebody who lives in Bangalore, and I told like he talked about his Muslims neighbors and stuff, and that they're very like nice and cute. And I said, yeah, but the question is like when you call yourself Muslims, if there is a pressure outside from outside, like Muslims, or like would they switch and join the Ummah and act the way is expected of the Ummah, or will they ditch Islam at this critical moment? And this is how you would know if you do have sleeping cells or you don't.
Yeah, and this ditching Islam and the ex-Muslim thing also annoys me to a large extent because of this. That Islam is basically the second largest religion in the world. If we have to wait for people to quit Islam in order for non-Muslims to feel safe with Muslims, then that's a battle that's never going to be won. We have to either keep Islamofascists in check or ask for their wholesale reformation and push them towards reforming themselves. We can't expect or wait for some people to quit Islam completely.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Some I was distracted for a sec because I ordered some food and it got late. I mean, food I got like from the, and I'm afraid that they have milk outside. So I'm trying to figure out how to get it inside when I'm here. So I'm sorry. Can you please like repeat the like, last sentence
Yeah,
because I.
yeah. What I was saying is that Islam is the second biggest religion in the world. Second most, I guess, has the second highest amount of followers. So we can't wait for these atheist Muslims or ex-Muslims to happen. Okay, the ex-Muslim movement is absolutely irrelevant because since it's the second biggest religion in the world, we can't wait for people to become atheist in order for non-Muslims to feel safe in Muslim majority countries or in presence of Islamofascists. They will have to stop being Islamofascists, or someone will have to keep them in check, or there has to be a reform in their mindsets. We can't wait for them to turn atheists. So
Yeah.
the atheist ex-Muslim movement I find really useless.
You think the ex-Muslim movement is useless?
Yeah, because most of them turn atheist and start criticizing Hinduism as well.
Oh, voilà. Partha is see who all attended the inauguration of Nalanda University and what they said. Cambodia, Vietnam, and South Korea have their own versions of Ramayana. Do you know? Do you understand that?
Yeah,
What is this?
Ramayana used to be very popular all across the Indian subcontinent, which is the text, remember, which a lot of people had some problems with me not knowing by heart, which is again my point of social justice and not conservatism, that it does not matter whether I know Hindu texts by heart or not, because the day I get attacked, I won't be asked that, do you know Ramayana? Only then I will kill you. I will be killed because I have a Hindu name. Or actually, the other thing they might do with Hindus is what they have done in Bangladesh as well. They will check if my penis is circumcised or not. So the conservatism part is not that important. Conservatism is, I think, is necessary but not sufficient. It's a social justice way of thinking that will actually save Hindus.
I don't know, like, to be honest, what's the right thing here?
Yeah, because think of the day Hamas attacked all those kids who were having fun at that music festival. How many of them really knew the Torah?
A lot of them.
And what about those who did not know? Did
Why
they
does
get
it
spared?
matter?
They
The
would get
Torah?
killed no matter what. Yeah,
No, there were are you, but the Hamas are
I'm talking
the,
about the victims.
yeah, but the victims, like, of course, if you know the Torah, you're gonna be even more of a victim if it comes to Hamas.
No, but they are just going to kill you, right? Because you are there in that music festival and you are an Israeli, and now you are going to get
Right.
the bullet.
No, but if you know the Torah, there is more chances of you getting having a bullet yourself too.
But it's not about having the Torah. It's about whether you know or do not know the Torah.
No, okay, so if you don't know the Torah or know the Torah, if you don't know the Torah, then you're gonna be more vulnerable.
In that music festival, how is that going to make a difference?
It's not about like specifically. First of all, in that music, I mean, people did crazy things there, but
Yeah.
in that it didn't matter, but it did, like, I'm gonna say that, like, people don't, like, I've been there, like the religious communities around Gaza had way less casualties, like significantly less casualties than the non-religious ones.
Right.
So because they
And
were
why
more,
is that?
because they were better prepared,
And it did
and they
not stop
fought.
the,
It did stop them.
but
They didn't manage to get into the religious communities,
the fighting part
not
is
as
expected
much.
of every Israeli.
Yes, but those who know the Torah fight
If
better.
you if you did not read the Torah, it should not have stopped you from having a gun at your
It
home.
it does stop you because you don't understand humanity if you don't understand your history. It's like I said, like the Torah, like you learn the Torah, you learn about humanity first and foremost. It's like it's the same thing as not learning history. And the Holocaust is a very unique case, which is like it's very it's different anyway. But like learning the Torah is exactly how we live in the Middle East. It's like it gives you the ability to know and to what to expect. It's like, especially if you have the humility to understand that those people were not stupid and they are not better than them. They just live in
Yeah.
different conditions and they had to act accordingly.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there is a lot of difference. Yes, there is, because those who do not know are just like they're naive. They just the reality of things are being hidden away, and they don't know what could come. So yes, it's very
Incidentally,
different.
it might be a distinctly Indian thing then, that because of our colonial education and because of the general socialist or leftist bent of the Indian education system, people who are highly educated or have gone on in the humanities streams for graduation, post graduation, PhD, they are going to be much uh, easily convinced of the, let's say, what happened to the Hindus way of understanding things, than that Ramayana is great, therefore you must protect the people who read Ramayana.
Again, I'm confused. I
Yeah.
don't know much about Hinduism. Not
Yeah.
enough.
So Ramayana, that Hindu text, people who know Ramayana by heart for all these years, even they have been vulnerable, and they have been in all political parties. All
Okay,
political parties who have gone on with anti-Hindu and pro-Islamofascist laws, their reading of Hindu religious texts has not benefited them in any way. Maybe in their personal life, they have had spiritual upliftment, they have been maybe disciplined and productive, but
but
as a culture, as a way of protection, they have not succeeded mostly.
but what does this
Whereas,
book?
yeah, yeah, go
What
on.
does it? Those books, like what you're what is written there? Because if you read Jewish prayer books, I don't know how much well it would prepare you. But the Torah is not a Jewish prayer book. It's not a meditation book, and it's not like.
Ramayana is a story. The story we discussed the last time I came. So those stories ideally should teach you these things, but they did not. It should have
Why?
explained. Again, because the socialist government will oversee everything. It's an all-encompassing, all-powerful government who
Mm.
takes care of everything. So they will fund those religious institutions extra, maybe, who will give a non-violent interpretation of Ramayana, and they will not allow anyone to have guns or gun training. And now the excuse is that, okay, Americans have school shootings, so we can't have self-defense laws in India. So
Oh, yeah. Shasti, one sec. What he is saying is your devoutness is irrelevant to an Islamist. For them, a Haredi Jew is still a Jew, a non-practicing Jew is still a Jew. I'm gonna say more. Like, they killed Muslims when they came. They didn't care if you are Muslim. They even killed people from the West Bank that don't have Israeli citizenship.
Mm.
It's like to say they have any standards. It's oh,
Yeah.
by the way, you know who really got tortured? The Thai people.
Mm.
People from
I
Nepal
see.
and people from Thailand were got extremely tortured.
I see.
So it doesn't have to be like the only thing that makes a difference is like they didn't care if you're like they killed hijabi women with wearing hijab, killed and
Right.
tortured them too, and
Right.
kidnapped one, right? Like some of the hostage, like one hostage was a hijabi woman.
I
Like,
see.
um, so no, it has nothing, like it didn't matter to them at all, any of that.
Yeah.
When I say like the
Yeah.
Torah, like knowing the Torah does matter because those who were religious were better prepared. Yes, they were better prepared. That's the
At least
difference.
the hijabi woman is supposed to be pretty devout, right? At least she probably knows the Holy Quran.
She knows, but
Even
she got
she was
shot
not.
in the head, under her stomach,
Yeah.
and several times from point
Hence,
blank.
social justice over conservatism.
So, but it's not like not because no, because but what is conservatism? Like social justice is is one thing, but conservatism, like knowing the Torah, is knowing what humans can do, and like and also knowing his like like because like we have, for example, in the Torah we have the case of that I just told you about Dinah, right? When that's from the Torah.
Hmm.
And this is like this is when I say like when Jews grow up learning that if somebody kidnaps your sister, you're gonna kill everybody that is involved in
Right.
that. Like,
That
and
is what
that's
the Ramayana says as well.
yes. Uh, so I think
So you
those
see,
who
the reason you people imbibe the Torah and we don't is because Hindu billionaires have not done the social justice thing, whereas Jewish billionaires have. Therefore, Torah is actually read the proper way and imbibed the proper way, taught the proper way. Whereas Ramayana talks about vengeance, talks about killing a king just because his wife was kidnapped by the king. At the same time, we are taught that Hinduism teaches non-violence.
yeah, that's like but we have also like Judaism like that, not in Israel, but in the United States, called Reform Judaism. And those Jews really believe like that Judaism teaches non-violence. And now there was this convention that with a lot of Reform Jews rabbis try to understand why so many kids started participating in the protests for that are pro-Hamas. Like, how can it be? And like, what did we
Mhm.
do wrong? And it's like, and all the other Jewish, like all the other Jewish sects, which is like, are you joking, right? Like, what did you
Qatari
think?
funding.
What did you think was gonna happen if you teach them that Judaism is the woke tikkun olam,
Non-violence.
non-violent kind of like you bullshit them. Like I remember like somebody on Twitter that he wrote about, oh, I know, like I'm a Jew and there is no way that this is according to Judaism. What's happening? I was like, and then I answered him, I was like, are you joking? Like, do you know anything about Judaism? You a fake Jew? And then I just quoted like how exactly Jews are supposed to be behaving in that situation, and like it's way, what's like what Israel is doing is way milder than what the Jews are supposed to be doing. But like,
Yeah.
and I was like, and then he
Qatar,
deleted
Qatar.
this. Like, who
Qatari
do you think?
funding has deep pockets.
Yeah, so
It's the
like
Qatari
if
social justice. So it's a battle of social justices. Us Jews and Hindus have got to stick together because they have also now gotten into the social justice game. The equality labs and stuff in USA. It's all Qatari money who are going to teach
yeah,
Jewish kids that
yeah.
Judaism also teaches non-violence.
Yeah, so a lot of like reform, and like there is no reform Judaism in Israel. Like it's not at all very
Yeah.
popular. But it's like because
Mm.
Jews are like here in Israel, they're like where or like we're gonna sin, but we're not gonna pretend we're not sinning kind of situation. It's like if we go against what the tradition is saying, we're not gonna pretend that the tradition allows it. We're gonna just say, hey, we're just going against it. Like we know it's like it's not we know like we're Jewish. We know that we don't follow what proper Judaism, and we're okay with that.
Mm.
And but we're not gonna change Judaism just because it doesn't fit. Like,
Mm.
it depends, like, but what I'm saying is, like, especially like when it comes to like the technical, like keeping kosher and stuff, right? Because
Mm.
reforms, like, they allow work, like they kind of they're very like they allow working in Sabbath, which is unthinkable for a Jew, like things like that.
Mm.
And it's like, we're not gonna pretend that Judaism allows it in any way, but we're gonna do it anyway. Just we're gonna sin, so what? Like,
Mm.
which is a very different mindset. But because like, okay,
Yeah.
we know what's proper, but we're not gonna do it just because we don't wanna. But we know what's like, but we're not gonna say this is not what, like.
Mm.
Uh, so this is what I was over. Yeah, we had that with the Reform Judaism. It's like, okay, it was like where you listen to them, you're like, go
Yeah, yeah. You
the
take it
fuck.
from me. In 50 years, Reform Judaism will say that we must have Fridays as holidays.
Reform Judaism, if
Yeah, yeah. That fake Judaism you're talking about, they are going to declare Fridays to be the day of Sabbath.
oh no, I don't think they can go that far. But yeah, but basically, like,
So everything can happen with funding academics. Qataris
yeah,
have
and
found out the game.
uh-huh. Oh, yeah, but like for by the way, Muslims don't have a rest day. Muslims don't have rest day. They work every day. The Friday is
I
just
don't know.
the
In the Indian
Yom el
subcontinent,
Jumu'ah.
they have Fridays as holidays.
It's not a holiday for them.
Yeah.
It's not really. They're supposed to work. It's just a Yom el Jumu'ah. They're just supposed to go to the masjid, but that other than that, it's still a
Yeah.
work day. They don't have a rest day.
Yeah. I don't think they
um,
got the memo here in India.
well,
It's
good for
they
them
celebrate it
to
as a
have a.
holiday.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess they learned something.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Islam is the religion of slavery. They're not gonna get a rest day. Okay, so somebody wrote Daddy Dave. I'm confused. Do you believe the Torah is a history book or more of a humanitarian guide? Thank you for your questions. I kind of feel like it's not that relevant, but the thing is, it's a combination of many things. It's a humanitarian history book, everything together. It's
Mm.
it's not. There are many genres. There poetry there. There's like it's not something you can like read in modern like in modern thinking where you're like you try to put everything in a box. No, it's a mix of everything.
Right.
Uh,
Mm.
it just the language changes a little bit when it's something
Mm.
poetic and like the language, but it's not gonna be something that you'd even notice in English. Like they have rhythmics when it's like a more in the Torah in Hebrew. Like
Mm.
if it's more like of a story, then the rhyme is different. Like they have rhythms. It doesn't matter
Okay.
anyway, but it's kind of hard even for an Israeli like
I
or a
see.
Jew like.
I
But
see.
so you have to really, but it's anyway. Oh, it's not a. But yeah, just so I'm saying that those Reform Jews are like, oh, Judaism doesn't support us. Like, are you joking? Like do you know
Right.
what's the hostage mentality of Israelis if you rape their? It's like because all of Israel went like, oh, we do not forget Amalek. Like they started quoting the Torah once everything happened,
Mm.
and the story of Dinah was quoted everywhere. So if
Mm.
and then, but then they came the Reform Jews of the United States and were like
Mm.
ceasefire. It's like this is not our Judaism. Judaism is peaceful, and we're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I don't know what it is in Hinduism. I can tell about it, what it's like
Yeah.
in
We are
Judaism.
already facing the brunt of that. This kind of equivalent of a reformed Hinduism. Okay. The
Uh,
Hinduism that we have been taught is the equivalent of this reformed Judaism.
okay. So that's a different problem. It's just Shruti
Yeah.
Ramayana and Mahabharata both needs to be to taught to be to be taught and read every day. Combination of both helps. Maybe I don't know what it says, but the thing is also that I've come to realize is that you need to have. So the Talmud does it because I brought like Harry Potter as an example. Like Harry, like I say that because all the actors in Harry Potter. I don't know. Did you read books? Did you watch the movies?
Harry Potter. Yeah. Yeah. All of them.
Okay, so the fifth year of Harry Potter is the year that when they try to suppress the fact that the Voldemort, like the evil wizard, came back to power, and
Yeah.
the media was lying about it and trying to suppress it, and
Yeah.
the government too.
Yeah.
And now, like when I see like and then I think like the Emma Watson and like Daniel Radcliffe, they're falling for all the media lies. They're like they live, and I think like what you acted in a this is exactly what J.K. Rowling was talking about. She's not stupid. She
Yeah.
understood what she writes. This is why she
Yeah.
fought from day one, like against them,
Yeah.
right? And she became like a
Yeah.
pariah. It's like she understood
Mm.
what she wrote, right? She knew what she
Yeah.
was saying. It wasn't a fantasy thing when she
Mm.
wrote like that thing. And that was even like, but now when everything is happening in real life, unfolding exactly the way she wrote it in her book,
Right.
just like just change the Voldemort thing to like it's like it's the
Mm.
same, and you see the same behavior. And it's like and yet like the kids that grew up playing did not get anything, didn't get they don't
Yeah.
understand like how it applies to their real
That's
life.
what that's what's the difference between real life experiences. No, that Emma Watson, Daniel Radcliffe have been millionaires since they were 11 years old, and J.K. Rowling was a struggling single mother writing Harry Potter one in a sitting in a cafe while someone's taking care
Mm,
of her child and stuff. Therefore,
I don't
her
think
life
that.
lessons are different.
I don't think that. I
Okay.
think that what happened was that you have somebody that would tell you that you need to have this mediator when you're somebody would tell you this is not a story. These things when things go to when this is exactly, and this is like the thing is like the only thing is like you see what the what happened on the fifth year. Mark my word,
Mm.
if something similar, if there is going to be a great danger to the UK one day, the media and the
Mm.
government are going to act the same way. And if somebody had told
Yeah.
them that, maybe they would have noticed. But the thing is, if you don't say it outright, like the bottom line, they're like, hey, this is not just a story, this is exactly what's going to happen, then
Hmm.
they would have known. But no, but
Because
for some
different.
reason that mediator was disappeared, right? So we have the data, but
Yeah,
no, like not understanding
there
like
was a
what's the
mediator.
difference between fantasy and reality. Like that's something what
There was a
that's
mediator,
why yeah.
and a different kind of social justice movement was going on in Britain, which is why Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson grew up knowing different things and understanding and looking at the world differently from J.K. Rowling herself. They were taught that everyone is your friend, all cultures are same, all religions are same, everyone has a home in UK or England, no matter what. So just prepare for the day we fill your country with illegal immigrants. Their minds have been groomed since they were 10, 11. There was a mediator who convinced them of these things. The mediator just had different plans.
Yeah, and I mean the mediator was lying to them. But the thing is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you need to have both. Like, that kind of mediator will always be there. The problem is that they didn't have the other mediators. It's like, listen, this is not
Right.
a lie. Like she didn't make this up, right? It's not like
Hmm.
she knew like this is exactly what's gonna happen in the UK
Yeah.
when the threat would come.
Yeah. These are fundamental human truths. That's why Harry
Yeah.
Potter was so endearing. That's why Harry Potter was so popular all over the world. Like people for most people, Harry Potter was the first English storybook that they ever read. I think even for me, before Harry Potter, I did not read any
Yeah.
English book for just for fun, and even then, I understood it so well. It's because of those fundamental human truths.
Yes, and also like I used it a lot. Like also the fact that like the way Voldemort was born was through like the magical equivalent of rape, and so
Hmm.
nobody ever like
Yeah.
and like this inexperience of love.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's so like real, like it's so true, but nobody's like, hey, like, but that's the thing, it's like I feel like a generation that didn't have a paternal, that like the parents weren't there or something to tell them that,
Hmm.
to mediate
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
situation
Yeah.
like.
I will agree that there has been a general degradation of parenting all over the world at large en masse, and the countries who are at different positions in their journey towards progressivism have faced the brunt of the bad parenting in different degrees according to that. Our journey to progressivism was much slower, so even up until our generation we have not faced that kind of insane effects of bad parenting. The next generation is going to face even more,
Yeah,
especially at least in the context of India.
that's interesting. Oh, somebody is thank you, Bo 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 Pandera. Thank you so much for your super chat.
Bhupendra.
Yeah, it's great. Like that's the thing is like this is why I when I come and ask like why should the West care about what's happening in Bangladesh? Is like
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I have to tell you one insane fact.
mm-hmm,
Bhupendro's name reminds me. His surname is Bhupendra Mandal. Okay, the first law minister of Pakistan, which included the fake Bangladesh with Pakistan in 1947. The first law minister of Pakistan was a Hindu. His name was Jogendranath Mondal. He was a leftist. He was one of those people, one of those free thinker idiots who convinced many poor people in India to go with him to Bangladesh because he told them that it's the oppressive upper caste Hindus who are making your life hell. Our Islamic brothers who believe in complete equality and peace, we will live happily ever after with them. A few years later, he left all those people in Bangladesh who started facing the brunt of Islamofascism. And he, the law minister himself, came back to India, wrote a gigantic letter. I had to make a two-part video just reading out that letter as sort of an audiobook, uh, complaining to the Pakistani authorities that at that point it was basically a tantrum that why aren't you listening to me? Why are you not paying heeds to my complaints about the atrocities that your men are committing against my people and my followers and stuff. So now as Sheikh Hasina is coming to India, even in those years, the first law minister of Pakistan, a Hindu, also had to come back to the Hindu fascist upper caste oppressive India only. So Jagannath Mandal is a classic sort of a motif. He's a archetype for all these types of Hindus, who a lot of whom are today in Bangladesh as well.
yeah, I'm so confused. There's so much information in every sentence you're saying because there but I feel like it's almost like I have to write notes to go and read everything because but
That's good.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean it makes sense. Like also it's interesting that we have a lot so many it's thing that I feel like there is this sentiment that the Jews of Hindus just discovering each other. It's like, wait, we have
Mm.
so much in common, which is like for the Jews is like, wait, we have more in common with Hindus than we have with Christians and Muslims.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like big, and that is they are supposed to have like this like a similar there's Abrahamic religion, right?
Right. Oh, and since let's say you have some disagreements with me in terms of calling Zionism a social justice movement, but humor me a little in pointing out that what would be a right wing in a Christian country? What would be the a right wing in an Islamic country? That would again be the kind of religious imperialism we have seen from them in the past. Maybe not for now. Maybe Tommy Robinson is doing a good thing. But Zionism and Hindutva, in its essence, from its very moment of birth, has not been a religious imperialist force. It has been a social justice force. It has pointed out to people that,
That's
see,
right.
bad things have happened to us and never again. And Hindutva is just starting that game now. So therefore, Zionism and Hindutva is going to be always fundamentally different from Islam and Christianity.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the fundamental difference. I'd say that when with Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, that Judaism, like the laws, it was uh, it was given to a nation. The whole Jewish nation had
Mm,
this epiphany. Like this is the story of
mm,
Mount Sinai. All the Jews had received a message from God at the same time. Every Israelite, I'm sorry, Jew, Israelite, had experienced together, right? The
mm,
whole nation experienced the sayings, the commandments, like the basic human, like how to treat each other laws together, like all got it together.
mm,
Versus
mm,
like Islam and Christianity, when there is just this one person that was
mm.
receiving the messages, and
Yeah,
now we have to follow. And this is like the fundamental difference.
yeah. And that one person thing is actually again a curse and a boon for Indian society, Hindu society as well. That since see, Voltaire said that with great powers comes great responsibility, which was plagiarized by Spider-Man. But actually, I think, in my opinion, with great responsibility comes great powers, and with absolute responsibility comes absolute power, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when it falls absolutely, which is why you see Europe all of a sudden became Christian, becomes Roman Catholic. Then all of a sudden they get attacked by Protestantism, and the countries one after the other become Protestants. And now they'll get some slaps from Muslims, and they'll become an Islamic state in 50 years. Whereas in India, since our prime minister in reality does not really have absolute power, and he probably knows it, and therefore India does not fall. It's a hard ship to turn. It's a wiggly, wobbly, gigantic fuzzball. It's not a solid stick that you can break and it falls immediately. Otherwise, our prime minister would have already opened the gates and checked everyone's penises and only let the Hindus in and not the Muslims in and stuff. But we can't do everything we want. So it has its advantages and disadvantages.
True. Yes. Same with the Jews. Like, the
Right.
joke, like, ask a Jew for opinion, you're gonna get three.
Yeah.
And it's like, uh,
Yeah.
as I get it all the time. It's like, this is not like when I say something about Jews, like, this is not what my Jewish friend told me. He said this and this. I was like, he is right too.
Yeah.
They're like, it's complex. They're like,
Mm. And that is how you have an intelligent population with critical thinking skills. Therefore you can't expect now Jews to be pretend to be offended at everything and therefore go cut everyone's head off. I know for sure that if I offend you as a Jew right now, no Jew is going to come to kill me by tomorrow morning. But
hey,
therefore how do you then survive? You have to survive by using your critical thinking faculties only. You can't pretend you are as stupid as the other side. So same with Hindus.
yeah, I
we
guess.
can't we can't
Uh,
cosplay as Muslims now.
so Rebecca clearly doesn't know much about religions in general. You know what I hate? When Judaism is regarded as a religion. This is when I think like this is the worst kind of Judaism, the religious type of, like the religion type of Judaism, to be honest.
Yeah, this is the criticism I faced the last time I came on your podcast as well. It's
Oh
the
yeah.
same kind of criticism. It's in the same genre. Why don't you know Ramayana properly?
No, I know Jewish stories properly. It's just every person has its own. But the thing is, like, it's
You
okay
don't know
with
enough.
Jews, but it's like
Yeah.
no, because no, because okay, so unless you are a sect in Judaism, you know that everything has more than one interpretation and more than one way of representing it, and that and then even if you bring something your own interpretation, it's all valid. But that
Mm.
doesn't work for, I feel like, a lot of others who want one answer, one truth, one reality.
Mm.
Like they,
And the sentence you just said, I think that's one sentence every Hindu would agree with. Every Hindu who has some semblance, who has some knowledge of Hindu texts, would agree with that exact statement, that there are multiple ways to approach truth and there can be multiple truths at one time. Truth is multivariant.
yeah, 1%. It's
Yeah.
multivariant, and
Mm.
it's a very context dependent situation. Like there,
Right.
it's complex. It's like but whatever.
Yeah.
And people are saying it's about like I have exactly 1 minute before Tubev comes in, so I think it's a good time to say thank you everybody for being here, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you all. Thank you for being here,
Yeah. Thank you,
Narajan.
guys. Yeah. Thank you.